Okay, so here we are in the second part of this video. We've now looked at our program design and we've come up with our design. We know what all our functions are. We've looked at the data that we need to pass into functions as arguments. We've looked at those functions that return information and we've got the returns in there. And we've coded all of our functions now and we've tested them all. So honestly now the next bit is the easy bit. We've just got to glue the whole lot together. So just a quick reiteration so everybody knows where we are. Make sure you've got a copy or you're looking at the flowchart for this program somewhere. It's in the week 4 presentation or elsewhere if you're viewing this through some other source. What did we start with? Well, the first thing was to check if they were eligible for a bonus. That's down the bottom here. Move the window up a bit so you can see it. Check if they were eligible for a bonus, and that basically returns a Boolean value, true or false, if the score was bigger than the threshold. We had to calculate the shortfall as well, which obviously was the bonus threshold minus the score, so that's how many more points they needed to hit the threshold, and we just returned that as an integer. Both of those two needed the original score to start with. We then got the add bonus, which we pass in the score, and then we add whatever the bonus value is to it, which we know is a constant up at the top set to 10, and it returns a new score for us. We've got our print name and score, which are pretty straightforward. They just print the information. And we've got our print bonus information, which was the only slightly complicated function because that took the score, took the shortfall, which it may or may not need, and it took the Boolean value, whether it was eligible for a bonus or not. And with the score was eligible for a bonus, it had been added and it said, well done, you got a bonus. Otherwise, it printed, sorry you didn't get it, and it printed the shortfall. So those are our basic functions. We just now need to glue them together. So really our function that glues all these together is, well, it was called the Endgame, so we're going to call it the Endgame function. And it obviously will need to know the score that the person got and the name of the person. So that's pretty straightforward. Does it matter here that I've used score and name? No, score and name is fine. It happens to be the same as we've used in all the sub-functions, but it makes sense. What we're passing in is a score and we're passing in a name. So it doesn't matter that they're the same. If you'd wanted to call them something different, that was fine. So going through, what did we have to do? The first thing to do was to check whether they got a bonus or not. So we need to call the function eligible for bonus. So this is a function we need to call. I can copy and paste that in, and I can use the same variable name here, score, because that's what I'm using in this endgame project. In the endgame project, in the endgame function, the score is called score, so when I pass its value out it is still called score, and when it hits the eligible for bonus function it gets recalled the same name, score, anyway, so that doesn't matter. So this is going to return a Boolean variable. So I need to assign that to something. So I'm going to call this eligible. Or we're going to say has, can, we'll call it something different here just for the hell of it. Can have, I don't know, we're going to call it is okay for bonus. So that then will take get the Boolean value back, and you can see the reason I've named it is okay for bonus. If you look in the function, what the next thing is, we hit the if block to test that conditional. Let's just get that moved back down out of the way. There we go. So we can now say if. And now we put this Boolean variable, which is going to be true or false, and the Boolean variable is called is okay for bonus. So it should read like English. If, it's not right, is it? If is okay for bonus. That doesn't quite read right. If okay for bonus, hit bonus sounds better. So we'll call our Boolean variable hit bonus. So now we're just going to test it here in our statement. So if hit bonus means he got it, we went down the yes route. And if we're going down the yes route, what was the first thing we did? We called the add bonus marks function. So here's our add bonus function. So we're going to call that one. And what does that do? It returns the new score. Now up here, when I return this value from calling the function, I've got to decide what to assign it to. I could assign it to a new variable called the new score, but when I look at my function, my overall endgame function, I don't actually need the old score again. So I'm just going to rewrite this into the same variable score, and that will be fine. And that's all I needed to do. If they got the bonus, I just need to add the bonus to the score. If it wasn't true, so that's obviously hitting the else. And something's gone a bit funny with my indentation there. It should be 4, so I'm just going to redo my indentations. That's better. I don't know what I've gone on there, something with my editor, or maybe the way I've laid it out. So if they were eligible for that, otherwise, so I use my else command, and I look now at my plan. What do I need to do? I needed to calculate the shortfall. So I call the calculate shortfall function. And what did that give me? Let's just have a look at the function itself. Calculate shortfall returns the shortfall, so I might need that somewhere. Again, up here I can return it into whatever variable name I want. I'm going to return, get my assignment statement. I'm going to use the same name, shortfall, actually. So it's quite descriptive of what it is. It could be something different if I'd wanted it to be, but in this particular case it makes sense that it's the same. So that's it. That's what happened with the conditional. And now, irrespective of which route I went down, whether I went down the yes route or the no route, I now need to print the name and score information. So I'll call that. Print name and score. I'm passing in score and name. Yeah, I've been using those names for the variables within my function here, score and name. And the last thing I want to do is print the bonus information. Control copy. And what we've been calling the various arguments in here, score is still called score. Shortfall, yeah, we pass that in shortfall. Eligible for bonus. Oh, I actually called it hit bonus in here. So I better call it hit bonus there, otherwise it won't be able to obviously find that variable, because hit bonus is not defined within endgame. Hit bonus is defined within endgame, but eligible for bonus wasn't. And that's it. That's my endgame function. So now I need to test my endgame function. So back up here from main, I need to give myself the 2 players that I know I wanted to start with. So I'm going to have player 1 being Bob, and score 1 being, so poor Bob won't have quite made it, he'll have 85, and I'll have player 2 being Sarah. Sarah did well with 140. And then what I want to do is I want to call the endgame function. So call the endgame function. I'm going to call it twice. Oh, not like that, I'm not. I'm going to call it, and first of all I'm going to pass in player 1 and score 1. So I'll call the endgame function and run through with all those, with all that data in. And then I'm going to recall the same function, but I'm going to pass in player 2 and score 2. And then it's the end of the indentation, and main will end and my program should end. Okay, so let's have a run of that, see if I made any mistakes. Wow, there we go. Return score greater than bonus threshold. Okay. Unorderable types, string and int. Okay, so let's go and have a look at that. So score greater than bonus threshold. So it's saying score and bonus threshold, unorderable types. It can't put them in order, strings and integers. And let's have a look what it was doing. It's saying string greater than int. So it's looking like score, it thinks, is a string variable. So our score here is being passed into eligible for bonus. When we call eligible for bonus, up here we're passing in score. Score is passed in, and score is coming from our main function here. So we need to think about what's going on at this point. Okay, so I can't immediately see where the problem is, so we've now got to start debugging, and honestly this was not planned, so this is fantastic. Let's try and debug what's going on here. So we know the problem is down here, just going back to the code, tells me it's in line 59, score is greater than bonus threshold. So it's score greater than bonus threshold. So I know it's in here. So what I need to do at this point is I need to just print, so this is now debugging in action, the variable score, and I just want to check what type of variable it is, because it's telling me it's a string, which is a bit concerning because obviously I think it's an integer. So there's our first bit of debugging information. Let's run that bit of code, see what it gives us. And oh gosh, it's telling me the value of this is actually Bob. Now I thought it should be a number, so something's obviously gone wrong here. So eligible for bonus, where did we call eligible for bonus? So we called eligible for bonus here in our endgame function, eligible for bonus. So just before we call it, I think I want to do the same again. I want to print score and type of score. Well, actually, I'm not too worried about the type now because it's actually got the wrong value in it. So that's in our endgame function. So let's run that, see what happens now. It's just off the bottom of the screen, so let's bring it up so we can see it. And it's, well, obviously the second one is the one within the test function. This is the one we've just put in. So at this point in our code, this point here, score has got a value as Bob, which is quite weird because I call endgame from up here, and in endgame, what am I passing into score? I should be passing in score 1. I've set score 1 here. So we've really narrowed it down now. The problem seems to be that when we get into the endgame function, score has got a value of Bob. But up here, score 1 is 85. Yeah, and then I call the function passing in player 1. So I pass in the string Bob, followed by the score 85. And when I receive the call here, I receive it with the score. That's where the problem is. Look at the order that I've done things in here. When I call the endgame function, the first parameter I pass in is the player's name, and the second parameter I pass in is the score. What's received, the first parameter I pass in, the player's name, goes into a variable called score, and the second parameter I pass in, which is the score, goes into the variable name. So I've just messed up the order within my endgame function. So I think I'll do it this way around. I'm just going to change it and pass them in the right order. So score 1, comma, and score 2. So that was a bit of debugging in action. Let's just hope that was the only error. So I can get rid of that. I can get rid of the print because that was not required. I'm just going to hash it out for the moment, just in case I decide to put it back in if there's something else wrong. And I can hash it out down here as well. Let's run the program now. Okay, so well done Bob, you scored 150, and I've now got another problem here. Local variable shortfall referenced before assignment. That's quite an interesting one. So again, now I'll be honest, this one was actually planned, so I was expecting this one. So let's have a figure out what's going on there. Where's the problem? It's in the print bonus info function. So in the print bonus information function, I've got a shortfall variable here, and it's actually here you go. It's when I call, so it's when I call the print bonus function. So it's up here when I call the print bonus function, and it's saying shortfall is not recognized at this point. So let me just check that that is a problem. So I'm just going to print shortfall here. And just so I can see what it is, I'm going to actually put the text shortfall before it. Okay, so let's just run that, see make sure that's where our problem actually is. Okay, so it didn't print it, and it's now failed on the text line I put in. It can't find the variable shortfall. So the variable shortfall doesn't seem to exist at this point. But what you need to do now is think, well, hang on, what's gone on here? Maybe go back and look at your logic of your program and think about where this shortfall variable comes from. And what you'll do is, if you look at it, you'll realize that the shortfall variable is only created. It's only created if we go down the no route, i.e. they weren't eligible for a bonus. If you went down the correct route, the yes route, then the shortfall isn't calculated. We can see it up here. If they hit the bonus, we calculate a new score. Otherwise, we calculate the shortfall. So we might get down here and the variable shortfall has not been kind of calculated. So we've got to go back and think about our coding a bit more. What's basically the problem? The basic problem is I've got this generic print bonus information function, and it may or may not need this shortfall information. So we've got lots of ways around this. The simplest way in this particular case is probably just to come up here, because we're not going to use it down here if we don't need it, is we'll just calculate the shortfall value anyway, and I'm just going to assign it to a value 0, and then if we don't calculate it in here because we've got the bonus, it will remain 0, and we can pass it in so the function will work, and then we never use it anyway. If we do need to calculate the shortfall, then we calculate it, it'll have its proper value, it'll be passed in, and it will be used. Okay, so let's have a look at that one. Okay, oh, now we're getting there. Score 2 is not defined now in calling endgame. So go back up to the top here. Player 1, score 1, player 2, score. That should have been score 2, obviously. Okay, so this is typical of writing code, is unplugging these. Hooray, there we go. So well done Bob, you scored 85. It's now printed that extra shortfall command. Sorry you didn't get the bonus, you missed it by 15 points. Well done Sarah, score 150. Then it used this dummy variable shortfall of 0 that we don't use, and it said well done, you got a bonus. Excellent. So that's achieved what we wanted to do. We've glued our functions together using our new function endgame, and we've tested it by passing in various parameters from main. The only remaining thing to do here is to go through and put some comments in your code, which I will do then in the version that you can download. Notice it's generally good practice to put some comments at the start of every function explaining what the inputs to the function are, what values it returns, if any, and very simply what the function does. Okay, hope that made sense to you. Thanks, bye.